Well, it's still daybreak here on Rice News. Time now for the press paper, but a first look at what's on the front pages of the paper as they arrive. And we start with our sister publication, this day newspaper, that has on its front page. Supreme Court's affirmation of Tinubu is beginning of a quest for better Nigeria. Let me take that again. Supreme Court's affirmation of Tinubu is beginning of our quest for better Nigeria. It has some riders there. It says Apex Court exhibited disturbing aversion by public opinion in affirming Tinubu's decision. Advocates 5-year rotational presidency says purchase of SUVs, yacht, amid multi-dimensional poverty, gross act of insensitivity. Presidency to Obi stop casting aspersion on the Supreme Court. Insists judicial pronouncements based on evidence, precedent, and of course the rule of law. Says court clears Mba of certificate forgery, lashes NYSC for fraudulent design, suppression, misrepresentation of facts. That's Mba, the governor of Enugu State. And then it says, NATO report, we are working to reconcile areas of discrepancies, says NMPC on the top mast. We have there that $5 billion train 7 LNG project reaches 52% completion level. And then we have here, produce MFLA in court or release him unconditionally. Judge restates order to the EFCC. That's for this day newspaper.
The Punch this morning, leading with off-season polls. It says military police vow tough actions for ballot box snatchers. Others, security chiefs warn hoodlums. 67,000 policemen for Kogi Bayelsa governorship elections. IG orders tight security at collation centers. Federal government vows transparency. Asarki demands fairness. And those are the leading photos today from Kogi and Bayelsa. Soldiers in show of force patrol Kogi Bayelsa flashpoints. And just below there, court rejects Akere Dolu lawmaker's suit against Aidatiwa, that's the deputy governor. And in Lagos State, BRT fares have been slashed by 25% after passengers' outcry. And here in Abuja, 2 people are dead after the Canadian embassy caught fire. President Tinubu mourns. Above the nameplate of the Punch this morning, federal government says the U.S. security advisory is needless and discourages investors. Also, 4.3 trillion naira lost to oil theft in 5 years. INEC delays trial of 197 electoral offenders. This and more from the Punch this morning.
Well, the front page of the Tribune features the Nigerian military in a show of force in Kogi and Bayelsa in readiness for Saturday's polls in both states. And the major story on the front page is that of the Guba poll as well. It says 40,000 police personnel for Kogi alone. IGP, that's the Inspector General of Police, reads Riot Act to perpetrators of violence, visits Bayelsa. We are 90% prepared, says INEC. They have 10% to go in a couple of days. Well, redeploy Imorek, PDP urges. Other stories that made it to the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning, away from the elections. Oil workers to get 25,000 naira wage award for 6 months. U.S. travel advisories causing needless panic. Nigeria safe, says the federal government. Appeal court reserves judgment in Kano-Guba election. Ports and harbors bill will promote casualization, says maritime workers. Release or produce Emefiele now. Court orders, or actually, take that again. Release or produce Emefiele November 8, not now, November 8. Court orders EFCC. Well, today is November 7. Two killed as fire guards Canadian Embassy in Abuja. And Obi carpets Supreme Court, INEC over 2023 election, presidency, APC kick. That's the front page of the Nigerian Tribune for you.
And you said November 8. I remembered my daughter. That's her birthday tomorrow.
Great.
All right, the Punch. Off-season polls.
We've taken the Punch.
Oh, we've taken the Punch. All right, let's go to Guardian, right? Let's do the Guardian. The Guardian. Less than 30% of registered voters will decide Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi polls. There you see a layout of how those elections will turn out. Federal government to kickstart housing, slum development schemes with 100 billion naira, drawbacks of dollarization of the Nigerian economy. Court confirms authenticity of Enugu governor's NYSC certificate. That's talking about Timber. Nigeria needs $7.6 billion to restore oil production to 2.1 million barrels per day by 2025. Terrorist attack, Molud procession in Katsina, killed 30, injured and kidnapped others. U.S. government's travel advisory hurtful to Nigerian economy, says the federal government. Obi hints at recontesting in 2027. Canvasses rotational 5-year single term for presidents. That's for the Guardian.
The Daily Sun this morning, leading on security issues in the country, says Boko Haram horror in Borno, Katsina. Some riders there, insurgents behead 13 farmers, kill 9, kidnap others in separate attacks. Also, one person was killed and their soldiers missing as gunmen strike in Niger, burn vehicles conveying food stuff. In Enugu State, court declares Mba's discharge certificate not fake, awards 5 million naira against the NYSC. This is a bit confusing. The NYSC says that certificate is not from them, and the court says it is. The leading photo there on the front page of the Daily Sun this morning is that of Senate President Godswill Akpabio with others after an emergency plenary of the Senate yesterday in Abuja. Meanwhile, the presidential candidate from the Labour Party, Peter Obi, opens up on Supreme Court judgment. He says the Apex Court betrayed Nigerians' confidence in judiciary. One more headline just beside the nameplate of the Daily Sun this morning. UK warns nationals against traveling to Borno, Yobe, Adamawa and others, says terrorist attacks are likely. Meanwhile, the federal government says the advisory is needless.
The relentless bombardment of Gaza by Israel is the attention of the Daily Trust this morning. It says Israel kills 10,022 Palestinians in 4 weeks. And it goes further to calculate that one child is killed every 10 minutes. Gaza becoming graveyard for children, says the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. 8 countries cut ties with Israel over Gaza genocide. A terrorist killed many in Katsina in Borno State is also on the front page of the Daily Trust. The Supreme Court verdict revolution postponed, says Obi. Starts preparing for 2027 president. That's according to the presidency, responding to Peter Obi there. Start preparing for 2027. Our condolences as Sheikh Yusuf Ali buried in Kano, and Bayelsa governorship cracks widen in PDP, APC as heavyweights shun rallies. That's the Daily Trust for you this morning.
A report on Gaza and children. I mean, 6 every hour.
10.
10.
One child every 10 minutes.
6 every hour. That's horrible. It's terrible, really. Something they have to get to grips with. All right, let's look at the leadership newspaper. It says, amid crunch, The federal government asked varsities and others to remit 40% revenue students, lecturers kick. Said deduction dangerous to system. Schools decline comment on the IGR. Presidency OB on warpath over Supreme Court judgment. Court affirms authenticity of Governor Mbaz's NYSC certificate. Federal government allays fears over U.S. travel advisory. AFCC to produce Emefiele in court on November 8. And Jais Bank declares 73% PBT growth in 9 months. There you see a picture of security men and women over the election. 6 manufacturing firms post 166.3 billion naira losses in 9 months. On the top mast, terrorists killed 29 farmers, children in Borno, Katsina State, and court reserves judgment in Kano governorship appeal.
Let's take a look at some of the international papers. The Financial Times this morning. On the Gaza crisis, there's pressure, continued pressure for ceasefire rises. This is nearly a month after Israel began its bombardment of Gaza. Now the Hamas-run health ministry says more than 10,000 people have been killed and more than 25,000 injured. In the U.S., Trump is defiant amid heated turn on witness stand in his New York fraud trial as the judge rebukes the ex-president. Also, importance of financial papers played down and stiff penalties at stake for the former U.S. president. PwC to axe 600 jobs in the UK as number of resignations drops below average. That's the Financial Times.
A variety of stories lead Tuesday's papers. The Daily Express says that the Metropolitan Police have appealed to pro-Palestinian protesters to call off a march set to take place in London on Armistice Day this weekend. The paper is reporting that Scotland Yard has said the event would not be appropriate and warned that the risk of violence and disorder in the capital was growing. Talk about the ripple effects of the war between Israel and Hamas.
All right, The Guardian. Gaza has to spare. That's Guardian International. Gaza has to spare. Everyone is just concentrating on survival. And there's one more story there. Mourner's ties with COVID PPE firm admitted. And Barbara Streisand, if you know her, the sexiest man who forced me off stage for years. That's for The Guardian.
The Daily Telegraph this morning. Daily pill halves risk of breast cancer. Women will now be able to live without fear as NHS offers drug that will save thousands of lives. On Rishi Sunak says the Prime Minister's train strike laws will stop rail unions cancelling Christmas. And Met begs activists to halt Amasi's protest. That's the Daily Telegraph.
The Daily Mail. The Daily Mail is reporting that a 78-year-old poppy seller had said he was punched and kicked during a pro-Palestinian demonstration at Edinburgh's Central Rail Station on Saturday. The paper carries a picture that appears to show Jim Henderson in the center of a large crowd waving Palestinian flags, and he says he was set upon while manning a stall. It adds that the incident only ended when railway staff intervened and shoved the demonstrators away.
Let's look at the Times. Thousands to be spared cancer with 4p a day pill. It says breast drug approved for 300,000 at-risk women. That's of cancer. Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. We talked about it earlier. That's what they're saying, that 10 minutes, a child is killed, and I extrapolated, that means 6 in 1 hour. This is a warning from the UN chief. That's from the Times.
All right, that's it for the press preview. Let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Also, you can follow us on X at Arise TV.